Let's talk about the real story of what happened with you and ABC's show, The Chew.
I sort of feel like chefs on television, or the celebrity chef, has somewhat destroyed the industry a little bit too.
Did you ever meet Anthony Bourdain?
I did. He did the show that I was hosting in Australia. Hi, Brennan. I have a friend who's just coming into the shop, and she's got dark hair. Her name's Andrea, and she's ordering me an iced tea and a gluten-free cookie.
So welcome back to Cleveland, all the way from Australia.
And you made it like Christmas for me.
Well, I mean, you don't really get to see much snow, do you, in Australia?
None. This is really, really pretty. And this is probably my favourite time of year to be in Cleveland.
Why?
Well, I can't remember what month it is because I'm just so jet-lagged. But I just like February, the snow. I just
March.
like how the snow sort of covers everything. And it's funny because I know when you talk to people in the Midwest, or anyone who deals with snow, like, yeah, no, we don't like snow. Because if you deal it for anything more than 2 weeks, then you've got cabin fever, right?
Yeah. By the way, it's around noontime. I don't know if you know this about me, but I like an iced tea every day.
I know a
lot about me. So I know we're making a little pit stop here.
I know where you hang.
Where's that?
Panera.
It's true, that's why we're coming here today. Because I get an iced tea every day, and I thought it would be nice and very lovely if we could have a drink in the car. And what's really cool, I have openly on all of my social media pages and even on this series talked about how much I love Panera. Yeah. So it's really cool because they're partnering up with us on the show, which is even better. Yeah, no, because I just feel like it's so organic. Like,
yay, Panera!
I love the cars. I love my drink and iced tea. Yeah. I love my guests, so it's all good. It's like a bunch
How do you go with driving like a $4 million car and getting crumbs in the car? Is that a problem?
Well, we don't eat in the car. I just drink in the car. I mean, an iced tea.
Non-alcoholic.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
What can I get you?
Hey, it's snowing. Let's have iced tea. That makes sense.
I know. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 20 degrees outside or 80 degrees outside. I still get an iced tea every day with a lot of ice.
I'll have iced tea. Sounds good. They have gluten-free options here?
I'm sure they do.
I
mean, it's Panera bread, so there's a lot of bread, but not everything has bread. What do you want? You want something else?
I want a treat.
All right, I'm going to go get our iced teas, yours without ice, and a gluten-free
So I don't have
treat.
to get out of the warm car?
Well, I mean, we got the
Chivalry is still in.
Yeah, please, let me get this for you. I've got it. You're a guest on our show in our city.
I'm going to look after the car. Can't afford for anyone to take it.
Exactly.
Got it. Do you want some money? Can I give you some money?
No, I got it.
Yeah.
It's on me.
Yeah. See what I did there? I reached for my wallet. Don't have any money.
Gotta get my purse.
Oh, good.
And my jacket. You just have fun with yourself in here.
All right. Oh, lucky. Apparently I'm not allowed to touch the seats. No, she took the key with her. Andrea, you took the key with you! Hi, Brennan. I have a friend who's just coming into the shop, and she's got dark hair. Her name's Andrea, and she's ordering me an iced tea and a gluten-free cookie. I think she's wearing like a white top. Can you see her? You don't have like gluten-free pastry-wise? Do you have something? All right, maybe something that's sweet. That's gluten. Do you have something that's gluten-free then? Gluten-free salad. Oh yeah, can you do like a chicken salad? Yeah, perfect. All right. Thanks, mate.
Here you go. Here's your iced tea with no ice.
Oh, cheers. That's a lot of tea. Guys, drink that. I should turn myself off.
What are you doing in here? What were you doing while I was away? Okay.
I was Instagramming my new car.
Okay, so here's the deal. They don't have gluten-free treats, so I brought you my favorite, though.
Yet.
Which is the warm chocolate chip cookies, which are amazing.
Is the chocolate gluten-free?
I don't know. Does chocolate have gluten? Oh, it's sugar. And then, but they do have gluten-free salads. You can't eat this in the car, but this is the Caesar salad new croutons with chicken on top.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go.
I know, because that's what I ordered.
Your salad is your treat. I know, I was in there, and they were like, Chef Jason Roberts has called to place an order. What's interesting to me, Jason, you and I met, gosh, like 15 years ago or something. I mean, well over a decade ago.
3 gray hairs ago, I think.
But you kept coming in for the Fabulous Food Show, which was a huge event that brought in like every top name chef in the country.
Yeah.
But then you kept coming back. What is it about Cleveland? I mean, you've traveled all over the world, but being from Australia, what is it specifically about this city that makes you still feel so connected?
I think it's the generosity of the people here. You know, I was at the West Side Market yesterday, and so it's generosity and it's community, but it's having to gotten to know some of these people, some of these vendors and people. I mean, this is not just West Side Market, but this is everyone. Like, people really greet you with a hug and a smile, and they generally ask, "Oh, how's your family?" And you may even remember my son's name. "Oh, how's Hunter doing?" And I guess maybe this is what social media is too. People can keep up with you, and maybe, you know, because I do hold some sort of relationship with people through social media. And then, so when you've gone for a year and then you come back, it's like you pick up where you left off, and people I know what's happened to people's lives.
At this point in your career, you have published 3 cookbooks. You've traveled the world, been on a lot of national cooking shows and talk shows. Let's talk about the real story of what happened with you and ABC's show, The Chew. And I want to kind of set the stage with this. As I mentioned, you and I met when you were coming in to promote your books and your time with the Fabulous Food Show over the years. I had a talk show. You would come on the talk show, and we'd become friends. And I remember when you came into Cleveland, and you, after the show, you're like, "I have something really cool that happened."
Yeah.
Like, ABC's launching a show called The Chew, which is going to be like The View, but with chefs and food-based. And you're like, I'm one of the people. I'm going to be one of the hosts. And you were really pumped about it. It hadn't been announced yet.
Set the scene a little bit. Gordon Elliott is an Australian who came to the States. He was a TV host himself, larger than life. He came to the States and basically tapped into the food market. He created Paula Deen. He created the Neelys. And had done really well. So from what I believe, that ABC had said to them, "We're creating a daytime food show," and they wanted Gordon to be the executive producer. So I had worked with Gordon when he'd come to Australia. I didn't know of Gordon at the time, but he came to do a show in Australia called Gordon Elliott's Door Knock Dinners. And I don't know how it was through a friend of a friend, but I got put up for it, and they chose me. I hadn't done any TV at this time, which was interesting. I mean, most chefs, probably 20 years ago, before doing any TV, weren't very good at TV. You're used to being behind the scenes, and that's what's interesting about chefs on television now, is that they're all really good.
Yeah.
But before us, chefs didn't do television.
Are some chefs on TV, though, like really good at being on TV, but not necessarily as good in the kitchen?
Yeah. Yes, and I have a bit of a feeling now. I sort of feel like chefs on television, or the celebrity chef, has somewhat destroyed the industry a little bit too, and made it a little bit harder for everyone. But anyway, so Gordon had come to Australia to do a show, and he'd shot it at the beach. So anyway, I ended up in that role with him, and it was very cool, and I loved working with Gordon, so we had a great rapport. And Gordon's smart because these shows are somewhat typecast. They say, it's like the United Colours of Benetton. We sort of need one of each person. We need a balance of male and female. We need a balance of ethnicity. And I guess at the time I was being looked at as the token Aussie, which is not a bad thing.
It wasn't for you at the time.
No,
you were like,
it was good.
Happy to be that,
good.
right?
And it still is good. I'm actually from New Zealand, to tell everyone. That's just Russell Crowe. Long story short, is that I came and I had to go through a cattle call. I went through and not at one point did I go, "Oh, I've got this for sure." It was basically a balance of putting different groups together, because when you have 5 hosts, you need to make sure that you have some sort of synergy and connection.
Right.
And so it dwindled down, and some people were sent home early, and then it got down to a point where, well, we think this is it. And I think it had to be passed by the ABC at the time. And then, I mean, yeah, we popped champagne. So at the time,
it's you and
myself, Danny Boom, Yvette Rios. Danny Boom's English background, lives in New York now. Yvette Rios is Hispanic. Bless her and her beautiful children. Daphne Oz.
Okay, who remained,
yes. Who I thought at the time was a genius. I just thought she was so quick, her information was amazing, and I got on really well with her. And for us, it was a bit of a running joke, it's the two Oz's. I'm from Oz, and her last name was Oz.
Yeah.
Got the phone call from Gordon. Good news, bad news. Bad news is... sorry, no, you say good news first. Good news is... show got picked up. Bad news is... don't need you. Not quite yet. So anyway, and then Gordon had explained, well...
And had you already told, like, family and friends? Well,
yeah,
you told me, so you were like, I'm on the show.
Yeah, I was downsizing. I was ready. I had to move countries again. I was moving back. So that was a bit of a downer. Anyway, I happened to be in the States doing the Fabulous Food Show. Gordon said, well, why don't you come to New York and come and do the show? They had a new cast, which was Michael Simon, Carla Hall, Daphne Oz, Mario Batali, Clinton Kelly.
Right, so I want to sidebar that to say, I know you're going to do the show because you told me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out in Santa Monica, out in California, getting ready to interview Jennifer Aniston. And I'm staying at the Casa del Mar. So for anybody who doesn't know, that's a beautiful hotel, right on the water, view of the Pacific. And at the time... Michael Simon and his wife Liz were living out there. They had a home too.
They just bought in California.
Yeah. So whenever I would go out to California, if I knew people who lived there, and I had extra downtime, I'd get in touch with them just to see if they could meet up for like a bite to eat or a drink or something.
Yeah.
So I remember calling Michael to say, hey, I'm in Santa Monica. Are you and Liz available? And so we got to chatting, and he was like, I got this show called The Chew. And I was like, oh my gosh, so is Jason Roberts. And he was like, I'm not sure if that's the way it's going. And so I remember in that moment, it was this really weird thing because I love you both. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm excited for one friend, but now I'm like, what's going on with my other friends?
Friends with the other now.
Nope, it's it. Friendship's over. You're in, you're out. No, so... Then, of course, I called you because that's what we do in this business. Like, we look out for each other. You've got to be, you just look out for each other. I remember when I lost my job, you called me right away. So, then, and that's how I found out.
It was a downer for me, but, also being in this industry, it happens a lot. You'd be surprised. It's why you got to have 10 lines in the water at any one time, because one could come off. So the guys picked up the show, and it made sense because they were bigger names. They needed bigger hitters, basically.
Yes.
And those guys were. And they created a great show. I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes, and I thought, oh, that's a great show. Could have been me. And I believe Gordon really tried to open up a pathway for the rest of us and made us correspondents, which eventually I signed on as.
Did you ever meet Anthony Bourdain?
I did. He did the show that I was hosting in Australia. Actually, it was my co-host that interviewed him, but I did meet him. Interesting character. I'm probably one of the only chefs who's never read Kitchen Confidential. But I feel like I know everything about it. And I believe everything that was written in that book that I had heard about is true. I mean, the industry is notorious for antisocial hours, long hours, when you finish on a late night, that you're subjected to alcohol and drugs and whatever. Coincidentally, things that I bypassed. I was very young when I started my career, and so by the age of 23, I was a executive head chef. Didn't drink, hadn't touched drugs, never drank, by the way, not until the age of 30. And so I was, it was me because I just listened to my mum, and she said, "Don't drink, don't do drugs."
Did she tell you that as a young kid, or even as you got older and she saw that you were interested in getting into the restaurant industry?
Just as a young kid, and I think more importantly, I mean, I grew up in an environment that was very unsavory in the sense that my stepfather was a drinker and somewhat abusive. And so it was like, I don't want to be like him. I always wanted to cook. And so...
Was cooking an outlet for you being around your stepfather?
It became... Because I jumped from country to country. When I was 18, I moved from my family home with my mum and my brother and my sister to Australia to not only meet my father for the first time, but to start my career. There was no jobs going, but I knew I wanted to cook.
Yeah.
And then I started my career. I think cooking was something that I wanted to do since I was 4, and that was probably more of a bond that I'd had with my grandmother.
I think when we lost Anthony Bourdain, I feel like people loved him, and so from the outside looking in, you go, oh my God, he has like this cool career and seems like such a cool person, is so beloved and is doing something that he loves, right? Like, you go, what happened?
He was an iceberg. You see what's going on the surface, but underneath there's a whole lot. It's addiction. It's a sense of, where do I belong? How do I fit into this? There's other chefs with bigger shows. I feel like...
That's interesting you say that, because there's so much comparison, right? There are other chefs with bigger shows, or this person's restaurant is getting better reviews. I mean, does that really have an effect on people in your industry? Like, we like to think we have thick skin, right? Like, oh, whatever. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
I have thick skin, but I still have feelings too.
Yeah. Just rapid fire questions at you. Quick answers. Quickish answers.
Yes.
All about Cleveland. Because it is driving Cleveland.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Favorite spot in Cleveland?
Oh my God. There's so many. West Side Market.
Best meal you've ever had in Cleveland?
I do love Noodle Cat. I love the simplicity of a bowl of broth.
The chef you like to sit and have conversation with the most from Cleveland?
Oh, okay. Look, I could name a lot, but right now, whilst I have theirs on stage in a moment, I just was watching an interview I did with Josh. Oh my God, I'm feeling bad right now. Mr. Crea.
Joe Crea. Mm-hmm.
Who just recently passed away. He was a wealth of knowledge. I actually looked at that interview and go, oh my God, I wish I got to have more time with him.
Yeah, so he was a food critic.
But he, not just a critic, he knew his stuff. A lot of great chefs in Cleveland, by the way.
So many, so it is hard to list, but that is really special that you mentioned Joe Crea's name, because I think he's beloved by so many in the industry. Yeah, and as a food critic, you sort of have you can have your haters too. But I think if anyone ever looked back at his career and then I think he spoke from the heart. He cared about people, and he put out real information too. So, your first time coming to Cleveland, what was your expectation, and then what became your impression of the city? For me, it was another cooking demo in another town. Show me the money. And they quickly fell in love with the industrial side. And before the flats were developed, I got to go down into that. It was just very industrial. Funny thing is, someone said, never mention the river catching on fire. It's true. People don't like that. They find it annoying and just like... So I would never mention that to anyone on television, that I know that once happened. It's the industrial side of this. People who are watching probably don't know this, and who don't know me anyway. I'm a huge Browns fan. That's the other thing. Is that right? You know what was funny? And over the years that I've been here, Clevelanders are very, not very patriotic. So for the Browns, if they're losing, don't want to know them. If they're winning, we're all about the Browns. See, I don't think that's true. I feel like they've stayed loyal, like the true Browns fans. So I would be on stage and go, how about them Browns? And they'd had a losing streak, and they go, boo, they didn't want to know about it. So I have this thing instilled in me, I go for the Browns no matter what. I have people on Twitter who reach out to me, they're winning. They lost. So I feel, and I've never really known any of the Browns players. But one of my bucket list things to do one day is to go into a training session with the Browns. That would be amazing to do. Not just the training session, but would you love to do some cooking with them?
And
Anything
bench
with them.
pressing and squatting and sprints. Wow. Like,
that might be tough.
Yeah, it would be
they
tough.
train at a different level than most humans do.
Well, look at me. I'm a rig.
You're so svelte.
I'm a rig. Under this.
You are a rig?
Under this little fatty suit I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm just looking for attention.
Favorite athlete from Cleveland? It's tough because you say you're a big Browns fan. Even though you weren't necessarily following a Browns player, maybe it's not football. Maybe it's pass. Do you want to take a pass?
No. Who's the Aussie that plays for the Cavs?
Oh, Deli.
I like him. No,
Dellavedova.
No,
Who doesn't love him? He's great.
Hold on. No, oh my God. No, I just had a total blank then. No, I mean, I love Love. How good's he? Great.
Kevin Love?
Kevin Love.
Yeah,
Awesome.
who doesn't love
And
Kevin
handsome.
Love? So handsome.
I mean, I've been blessed. Seriously blessed. Oh my God, I've never been to a Browns game, by the way. I know we've always tried to make that work, but I did go to a Cavs game. A good friend of mine, when I got off a plane, called me one time and said, "Hey, I have
floor seats.
Floor seats. Thanks, Andrea Vecchio." And then I got this cool shot of LeBron right in front of me. He said, "Hey, enjoy a Coke," and winked at me.
No, he said, "Enjoy an iced tea."
Enjoy iced tea from Panera. So no, I mean, for me, I mean, I grew up enjoying NBA games when it was Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. I mean, making myself sound really old. But to actually be courtside in a game and someone like LeBron playing was like, oh.
So wild, right?
Took me back to being a kid eating, candy in front of the TV with my mates. Going, "Go Lakers!" from Australia. But to physically be there is it's amazing.
Well, and the Cavs are incredible in terms of how they put on the show and a performance just by being there. Yeah. I mean, everything that's happening, aside from what's happening on the court, and seeing someone like LeBron up close.
Huge.
And just the talent, right? This like sick talent. So to actually be able to witness it in person, even though he's not here anymore, any of us who got to see it in person, like you're watching something special.
You're immersed in it.
Right. But the Cavs organization, aside from that, I mean, it's just a show that's being put on. So there's always something that's tapping into your senses around you. It's a really fun atmosphere.
Didn't get the t-shirt though. You know
when they shoot him in, that's because you were so close. They would have shot your eye out.